total opposition to what I just said. Any feedback?
Total opposition. Really good. One of the things that, I'm Sean Mark with Fun Magazine. One of the things that the word keeps using, Steve used it, you used it regularly. In London, when you go into the tube, there's signs that say, mind the gaps. And basically, it's talking about the space in between the train and the platform. You don't want to, fall down that. And when we found that what happens is, as people are aging, families need to mind the gaps more. Minding those gaps become very, very important. So we devised a program for minding gaps. Now, the question is, personally, we were blessed with having resources. My grandmother had dementia, and my mom said, well, if you can look, if a computer can tell me where I'm at in my car, why can't you create a bracelet or something where if my mother wanders off, I can log on and I can track her. So we had that created and put in a beautiful bracelet. But the problem is the cost. So all this technology you speak of, and all this technology that we're speaking of, how are the larger industries, the ARP, how can they help make the cost more affordable for people to be able to mine those gaps with the technology? Because it's rather expensive.
But let me just talk to that one little point, because Verizon and AT&T and Sprint all have a product. Verizon calls it Chaperone. $9 a month, it will track 4 cell phones. Okay? $9 a month. Put it in the person's pocket, and now you can see where they are. And it's intended to be able to track when your teenager is taking the car. But it can track your memory. So that's just one point, is sometimes what you think are the obvious technologies, if a vendor like Verizon doesn't actually say the word, for people who are at risk of getting lost and wandering in their later years, which they don't say, right, you might not know that product is in fact useful. So that's one point. And in terms of the cost of the technologies, like the Wander Guards and all the various technologies that you put on, what have you, depending on the diagnosis of a person, many vendors today, of course, are trying to get their products qualified in the United States for Medicaid or for or Medicare or whatever they need in the way of insurance reimbursement to go with the diagnosis the person has. There's also an enormous amount of effort to pass legislation in many states and at the federal level. Originally, I think it was called Money Follows the Person, that something can be done to help them get it out of a nursing home into their home and have technology supported. So we're not at the year yet where many of these technologies actually are reimbursed, but we're getting really, really close. And I think even reading the reports out of home monitoring systems is not reimbursed right now for doctors. It will be. I believe it will be. One more short question. Yes?
Laurie, I lean with Traveling for Health, and I wanted to address the fact that there actually are communities and tribes that are very active in providing the services around connected technology.
Yes.
Which, for instance, there are other online records companies besides Microsoft's Health Vault. However, Microsoft has done a wonderful job of building the community of services around them. And right now, Health Vault has 100 applications, people who sell devices, people who sell the solutions IP,
Right.
and over 50 companies that are connecting around this. As an example, you wouldn't think that Best Buy, a retailer, would be offering in their stores through their Geek Squad, selling the devices and the connectivity to the people who walk through the store. If they need a little more help, then they send the Geek Squad out. You wouldn't expect that TELUS, which is a major mobile company in Canada, just signed a licensing agreement with Microsoft. It's the first Pan-American company to do that. And so there are companies that absolutely, there's a racetrack going on here, and it's all open. So there is nobody trying to keep anybody else out of the game, and there are some communities building up about that right now, very active.
You brought to mind one other type of community that I didn't mention in this presentation, but it is a target market actually for anybody looking to sell into the aging in place crowd. These are things euphemistically referred to as naturally occurring retirement communities. Has everybody here seen the term NORC? Okay, watch the papers. NORCs are forming. There's 2,000 in the United States right now. Some of them are what they call intentional That is, the members of the community have gotten together in order to facilitate having a single concierge-type access to services they all need. Some of them are actually started in buildings. Some of them are being started by continuing care communities so that they can reach out to prospects for their services, even though people can't sell their homes right now. So watch out for the coordinators of these communities because they are potential focal points for distributing technologies for people aging in place.
Laurie, I'm wondering if you could address the issue of diversity. What advice would you give to vendors in terms of paying attention to growing diversity that Jody referred to earlier? He did say that it was going to peak in 10 to 15 years, but also advised people not to ignore it. Have you looked at the growing Hispanic older population, African American population, Asian, and so on?
I have looked at some of this, and there's some communities, for example, if you go to Miami, Florida, many people, their primary language is Spanish, and English sometimes isn't even spoken at all. When Microsoft went to market with the senior PC, they actually went into Miami. They populated a whole crowd of senior centers filled with people who wanted to learn how to use computers. So the ability to understand bilingual and also aging in place trends. We know that, for example, Asian communities seem less enthusiastic about putting their aging parents into continuing care communities. There's a lot of factors that play into that. I don't have a particular thought about it except to look at the product that you're selling, look at the demographics in the regions in which you wish to target, just like Microsoft did with the senior PC, and market accordingly.